We are at the Fall Lake National Forest Campground outside of Ely, Minnesota, where we just had a nice peaceful breakfast. That was before the chainsaws started. I don't know if you can hear those or not, but the chainsaws are connected to why we're actually at this campground in the first place, because a huge storm moved through this area. A bad, severe thunderstorm was a couple days ago.
Yeah.
Because this is Sunday, so it would have come through Friday night, something like 70 to 80 mile an hour straight line winds, and it was pretty severe. And they actually lost some brush and trees here, so they're up cleaning that out today. So we noticed as soon as breakfast was finishing, all of a sudden there were chainsaws. But normally that's not allowed around here. No chainsaws and no generators. So it's usually a nice, quiet, peaceful campground. But I mentioned that is why we ended up here. So we're in northern Minnesota. We had been traveling on the North Shore, and a local and some others and told us about the annual Blueberry Festival in Ely, Minnesota, and you really wanted to go to that.
It sounded amazing from what the locals had told us, and we looked up some stuff from the previous years, and we said, why not? You know, let's check off a thing to do and go visit a local festival. And so we totally changed our plans from what we were originally going to do. We had a couple more stops on the North Shore that we were going to make, but we said, you know what, those will be there in the future, but we won't always be back here at festival time, so let's go to the festival. So we got up early. We drove an hour and a half from where we were to get to the festival, only to get there, and something just didn't seem right. I thought, gosh, the vendors just, there was only a couple canopies up, and the food trucks were like just kind of scattered around town. And they had billed this as like 300 plus vendors and food and 30,000 people. And then we opened our eyes and really realized that something was totally amiss, and quick jumped online. Although I realized while I had 4 bars of service, I had absolutely nothing. Like nothing would load, couldn't figure it out. Turns out that bad storm that Ari mentioned had completely wiped out the festival. It came through after we talked to a couple locals in the shop. It came through with like barely 30 minutes notice. Nobody had time to do anything. And those straight line winds literally wiped the festival out. Like took down all the vendor booths, broke all of their, like the pottery and the woodworking and the paintings. I mean, it literally destroyed many of the vendors' crafts, which is very, very disheartening. I mean, it's obviously disheartening to us not to go to the festival, but I mean, my mom does pottery and does craft shows, and I just know the hard work that goes into that stuff. So my heart goes out to all of those vendors who just literally lost everything in that storm. And so unfortunately, the town made the decision that they needed to cancel the festival because the park was a mess. There were down trees and down power lines. Half the town still didn't have power. And so they made the right decision. But, you know, it was a little dip in the road for us in terms of we'd totally gone out of our way to change our plans to do something cool. But we ended up making the best of it and got to explore something different as a result.
We did stick around Ely for a little bit. I mean, the township park or the town park was kind of a mess, and they were cleaning it up. But there were some food trucks that had scattered throughout town. They were still there. The waffle on a stick guy was still there. That was good.
2 thumbs up for them.
We stopped and got some ice cream, of course, downtown, because that's what we do. And just kind of wandered town and tried to see what the stores had to offer, because we thought, you know, this is a huge economic hit for Ely. This is their big festival. And yeah, they said 30,000 to 40,000 people throughout the 3-day weekend on a good year. Well, last year in 2020, it was canceled because of COVID. They had a good day on Friday, apparently, and then Friday night the storm hit and they lost Saturday and Sunday. So not only for the vendors, but also for the businesses in town, it's a huge hit. So we thought, well, let's patronize them a little bit if we can, and we checked out the town a little bit, and then decided, okay, now what? So there are some local outfitters in town, because that area is right near the it's the Boundary Waters canoe area.
Yeah.
Is that what that's called? I believe.
Boundary, yeah. BAWC something. It's the Boundary Waters Canoe Area, which is the federally protected area where it's literally like canoes only, no motorized boats, and you have to have a special permit. And so there are a ton of outfitters there that will set you up and take you on everything from a day to 2-week-long trip into the wilderness out there.
So we checked in with one of them just to say, hey, we have a kayak with us. We're trying to look out what else we can do in the area. And he suggested some lakes to look at, and there were some campgrounds near these lakes. And so we decided, well, let's see. It's a busy time of year, especially with more people in the area for the Blueberry Festival. Not sure any camping was going to be available at a campground. And there's this national recreation area. So it's about 7, maybe 8 miles away from town. We thought, let's take a nice drive through a peaceful area of the state and see what's up here. And so we found this campground, and we got one of the last 2 spots that were here.
Well, yeah, we got one of the last 2. There are a couple different loops here, and one loop has electricity, one loop does not. At the time we checked in, neither site had electricity because the power was out here. But we did end up choosing the site with electricity in the hopes that the power would come back on, which it did eventually. But it was okay. And they actually had a nice-ish, roped off beach swimming area here. We made the decision after looking at the lake not to put the kayak out just because it was super, super windy and it was really choppy. And we just didn't feel like that would be a pleasant experience. So we went and enjoyed the beach instead.
We shifted gears entirely. So we got up in the morning assuming we would be walking around a small town with thousands of people checking out vendors and enjoying the Blueberry Festival. And by the mid-afternoon, we were essentially sitting on a beach in a national recreation area. But that's part of this lifestyle too, right? I mean, you make plans, and what's the old saying about the best laid plans of mice and men? That is a thing you have to deal with, which is something's going to happen. Weather will affect your plans. Something's going to happen with something that you had planned to go to. Maybe it ends up closed or canceled for some reason. And then what do? You can either sit and just worry about it and say, well, now it's completely ruined. What are we going to do? Or you just poke around, talk to locals, see what else there is. Maybe there's a hidden gem you haven't heard about yet. Go find an area like we did. And I would say, too, a lot of chatter online right now is about how everything's booked up. All the campsites are booked. You can't get anything. In the last, few weeks we've been looking around. Last week at least, we've landed in a couple of spots kind of last minute. And it has worked. So I always say call, go visit it if it's not very far away, and see what you can do. We have the advantage in the van of not needing much space. So we are on a site. It's a beautiful site. It's number 42 if you ever get here. It's kind of a small parking area, but if you have a B or maybe a small C, or if you have a tent, you can clearly come here. But it's a nice big site. It's around the curve from the rest of the loop, and it's pretty peaceful in here.
Another thing we have always mentioned is to talk to your park hosts, because they are a wealth of knowledge and usually can give you tips and tricks about other things to see in the area. It just so happened last night that we were out for a walk, and the camp host actually just made a comment to me about my shirt, which happens to be, if any of you watch Keep Your Daydream, we both had our KYD shirts on, and so we kind of connected over that. Also realized that we had been to the same RV event 2 years ago in Texas, which is kind of funny. So we actually started chatting, learned that we had a lot in common, and chatted about our kind of nomad lifestyles. But then he said, have you checked out the local waterfall? Well, we obviously hadn't, because we just got here. We didn't really expect to be in this area. And he said it's just a short 5-minute drive down the road. So we are planning to go there when we check out of here today. But that's something that we wouldn't have even known about or even thought about, because if we'd just gone straight to the Blueberry Festival, we would have never checked out the rest of the area. We were just planning to go there and then move on. So it definitely pays to have a friendly chat with your camp hosts.
A quick addendum for this video, we did make it out to Kawishiwi Falls. Good job talking to Richard, the camp host, because he was right.
Yeah, this one was really cool. Now the water flow is a little bit controlled by the dam and the water that's above that in Garden Lake. But I think this is the most water that we've seen on any waterfall this trip so far, just because it's been such a dry summer. But these were really cool. Definitely worth the hike out here. It's, I think, less than a mile round trip, so pretty doable. It's not ADA accessible by any means as far as wheelchair is concerned, because it is rocks and roots and climbs and everything, but it's not like a difficult hike by any means. It's just not like a flat boardwalk, but definitely worth the walk out here.
You talk about life on the road, and you never know where that road is going to take you next, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't enjoy every little thing that comes along, whether it's a great view or a big bump in the road because something has happened and you have to shift gears. Do what you can, get out there and enjoy the moment, even if it's a different moment than what you planned. Keep on trekking.
And we'll see you out there.
I like how you called it the local waterfall and didn't even try to say it. I think it's Kawishi is how you say it.
Yeah, I wasn't even gonna try.